Hi guys, this is Stefan, poker coach and founder of BecomeAnOnlinePokerPro.com. Welcome back to episode 17 of the Bankroll building experiment. This is the series where I abandon the games I usually play at No Limit 100 and No Limit 200 to show you guys exactly what it takes to build a bankroll from scratch in 2013. And so far we've gone from No Limit 4 up to No Limit 50, and this is my update since the latest video. This is the results. As you can see, I've been running pretty well. The yellow line is my expected result, and the green line is my actual result. So you can see I've been running like 4 binds above EV, which is always great. Last week it was the other way around, I believe. So it's definitely been great fun, and the bankroll is now sitting at, I think it's at you can see there's some in play because I've already loaded up some tables that I'm going to show you in a second. But as you can see, it's like above 1500, like 1580 at this point in time. Creating this video, so it's definitely going well in the experiment. But one thing I just wanted to talk about quickly before jumping into the live action is one of my students told me the other day that he kind of felt bad sometimes when he was running above EV when his green line was above his yellow line, because somehow he felt like he didn't really deserve the good result that he had that session, because according to the EV, according to the percentages when he got on all in, he shouldn't have made those results. Now I can kind of see where he's coming from. I can kind of understand what he's trying to say, but really every good poker player, and every good poker player gets both lucky and unlucky. You have good streaks, you have bad streaks, and you can't really do anything about this. It's just something that happens. It's a part of the game. So when you're running bad, you just have to focus on playing your best and trying to learn from your downswing. And the same thing when you're running well. You shouldn't really focus on feeling guilty about running well. You should just, embrace it, enjoy it, and try to make the most of it, and not really think too much about if you deserve the result you got or not. Of course, it's kind of like it can be helpful to keep in mind that you have been running well, so perhaps these results are not sustainable. Like this win rate over this 5,000 hand sample is definitely not sustainable. I know that. It will even out over time. It will be like the line won't be going up that steeply. The big blind per 100 winnings and this sample is, wow, I don't know, it's above 10 at least. So it's unsustainable in these games. But I've just been enjoying the last few days. It's nice to win a couple of all-ins, and you should feel that way too. You shouldn't really beat on yourself for being lucky in a few pots, and to turn it the other way around, you shouldn't really be feeling completely depressed that you're running a couple binds below EV. It's just a part of the game, both sides of the coin. So you just gotta learn to deal with it. And yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. So let's get into the action. I've got the 4 tables loaded up. I think I might just let it run. I think I'll get dealt hands on at least a few of the tables pretty quickly. So we'll just get right into the action. As you can see on table 1 and table 2, I've made a few bucks. That was just while setting up the tables. The situation on table 2 was it was folded around to the button, which was El Nino, and he min raised, and I 3-bet with ace king suited, and he 4-bet, and I shoved, and he folded, and on table 1 folded to the button. I had queen jack who raised. I had queen jack suited in the big blind. I 3-bet, and the flop was 7-5-5 with a flush draw. I had the flush draw, so I c-bet, and he folded. So that's basically what you've missed so far in this session. Now 9-6 here on table 2 is a hand you'll see me open a lot in this spot, but because this guy is not folding a lot to raises from the small blind when he's in the big blind, I'm just going to fold a hand like 9-6. I don't really want to play a hand like that against a guy who is actively defending a lot in these spots and who is very aware of the power of position. Against a guy like that, I basically have to tighten up, because he's going to make my life very hard in a lot of situations, and I won't be able to turn a profit. Looks like the same thing here on table 3. So 7-10 off is just a fold. Yeah, it's very important that you're aware of the defending tendencies of the big blind in those situations, because your entire range should be a product of his tendency in that situation, in my opinion. Just go ahead and post on table 2, and I think I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet in this situation on table 2. I'm going to make it very small. I don't really think a call is the best play in this situation. I think that kind of entices the people behind to come along, and I don't really want to play a multi-way pot with an offsuit Broadway. On the same time, the under the gun raises range is fairly strong. Like it's kind of weighed towards kings as strong or stronger than mine, or small pairs. So when I hit a king and he has an underpair, I don't really think I'm going to make a lot of money. But if he has a better king than me, he's probably able to get a lot of value out of me. So just don't see like a ton of profitable spots when calling. I think it's pretty marginal to call that hand, but I do think it's very profitable to use it as a bluff, just because I'm blocking his ace king, his ace queen, his kings, his queens, and it does look fairly strong with me 3-betting him under the gun. On top of that, if he does decide to call with his small pairs just because I made it smaller than usual, I'm pretty sure he'll just end up check folding a lot of flops, which again will be great for us. And most of the time he's just going to fold. So I think calling might be okay, might be plus EV, especially with the fish in the blinds, but I think making a 3-bet in that situation has an overall higher EV in that spot. So that's what I decided to do. When this guy leads out on table 4 just a minute ago, on the queen 10-9 with a flush draw, and we have the 7-5, I don't really want to get involved in that spot. It's a situation where even when he has a weak hand, when he's dunking out, he might still have a jack for. He might still have a lot of flush draws, a lot of straight draws, both the open-ended with the jack and a lot of gut shots. And I think he looks like a fish, so he'll probably call with any pair. So I don't really think I can get him to fold a whole lot, and I have no equity, so just giving up and folding in that situation seems pretty standard. Gonna raise up the jack 8. And the kings on table 2. This guy's not really folding a ton to c-bets, but we can hit a couple of cards that we can barrel on the turn. On table 2 with this flop, and this is one of them by the way, I'm gonna bet, I think he's gonna call the 7 or 6 or 8, 9 or 5-4 if he's capable of having that hand. I'm just gonna check to him and allow him to bluff. Table 2, I'm basically never folding this hand at any point. I think on your betting here might be better than checking, just because he might call it off with a queen or 10 at this point. And on table 1, just gonna check it behind. I don't really think I can get a call from a lot of weaker hands. Like the 9 brings another overcard to the 7 and the 6, which we might otherwise be able to get value from. So, and I don't expect him to have any weaker jacks either, so a lot of his range is missed draws and bets that beat us that are going to call now, and he's obviously not going to call with the missed draws, so the only thing left for him to call with is the pairs that beat us, so I think checking behind that's fine. With the jacks over here on table 2, this guy is 3-betting quite a bit. He's mostly 3-betting from the big blind though. I'm just going to call here. You could argue that a 4-bet would be fine as well, especially against a guy with a high 3-bet, just because that's the type of guy you expect to be you expect him to be getting 4-bet a lot, so you expect him to fight back against 4-bets. And in that situation, you know, having jacks is obviously great. When this guy just makes 2 huge bets in this situation, I don't really know what to make of it. He looks fairly strong, and he has to have a complete bluff for us to beat him here. So I think I'm just going to fold in this spot. He does have the 9s. Wow, really didn't expect that. Just such a strong bet with the such a strong bet on the turn. I don't really think he expects to get called by worse in that situation. He played that pretty weird. I think I'm just going to make a note of that. That first of all, that he did 3-bet the 9s. Some people have a 3-betting range that's more like aces, kings, and queens, ace, king, and then, you know, suited ace, ace deuce suited, ace 3 suited, ace 4 suited, 5-4 suited. They have a they have a polarized range. So they either have, you know, a premium hand like aces or kings or queens, or they have junk like 5-4, 5-3 suited, or a hand like that. Just gonna fold this hand. This guy's folding a ton of 3-bets, so I want to just call you with the 10s. So, you know, noting that he is 3-betting 9s, that's good to know. It also means that when he is 3-betting hands like 9s, it means like 4-betting a hand like jacks for us becomes the better play, because since he is 3-betting a lot, he has to defend by 4-betting. He has to defend against 4-bets, and when he has hands like 9s and 10s in his range, he's probably going to use those hands to fight back, and obviously when we have jacks against hands like that, that's great. So he's 3-betting the 9s, and he I'm just going to mention the board texture. And the fact that the flush hit. I'm pretty sure he was kind of making his hand into a bluff on the turn. Which was a great play, obviously, because I decided to fold, which is something I won't be doing in the future. Looking back over his stats now, he does have a very high turn bet, which is something that I should have paid attention to in the hand, and it's something that, you know, might have convinced me to call the turn instead of fold. But now we've got the note, so we won't be making that mistake against him in the future. Deuce 4 on table 4, let's just fold. King 9 suited. This guy is not folding a lot, but we don't really need him to fold a lot when we have a hand as strong as King 9 suited. And this is really a board where we have no equity in this spot, but it's a decent spot for a c-bet. He doesn't fold a whole lot, but you know, we do have to c-bet sometimes, even against players who don't fold a lot. And I think this board is fine. And we don't have any equity, so when we do check, we're never winning the pot. So I think, you know, firing a c-bet in this situation is fine. King 10 on table 4 is definitely a raise. Queen 3 suited is a fold on table 4. The 9-7 off is going to be a fold in this spot. It's just too weak. That would be a pretty good situation for a squeeze play, just because the cutoff, which is a 3-bet when there's a raise and then a call behind, and you 3-bet, that's a squeeze. And it would be a good spot for a squeeze, just because the cutoff has a very high pre-flop raise, so he has a wide range. But even though he has a wide range, the button only decided to call. So we can assume that the button doesn't really have a very strong hand, because he would probably have 3-betted himself pre-flop against a guy who has a wide cutoff range. So we know the button really doesn't have a strong hand most of the time, and we know the cutoff doesn't have a strong hand either most of the time, just because he has a very wide range. So the percentage of time he does have a very strong hand is less than a guy who has a very tight range. So it was a very good spot for a squeeze, but even when there's great spots for squeeze plays, I still like to have some kind of equity. So, you know, at least a suited hand, you know, that has some connectedness, like Jack 9 suited would be fine. Queen 9 suited even, maybe. Just in case one of them calls, we can actually hit some flops and apply some pressure. 6-5 suited is definitely a raise on the button. King 4 off against this guy. I don't know. Don't really know too much about him. He looks very tight. I'm just gonna try and min open and see if we can take down. And he did auto fold. Whenever you're against players who have the auto fold on a lot, trying to min open, just, you know, click raise open a very wide range is often very profitable, because people who have the auto fold on is often people who play multiple tables and who aren't really paying too much attention. So you can kind of get away with doing cheeky stuff like that. Now up on table 2, I'm just going to be folding more in general, just because this guy Golden Fish, he doesn't really like to fold out of the blinds. So a lot of the plays you usually see me make, opening pretty much, or in some situations, any 2 cards from the button. All of that is very dependent on the players in the blinds. And the reason that you've been seeing me do that a lot is because the regulars at the lower limits we've played so far all have the tendency to fold too much from the blinds. So the way that I adjust to that and the way that I exploit that is by opening my range and stealing more, so that I kind of maximize the mistake that they are making by folding too much, by opening even wider. But against a guy who has a tendency to defend more, maybe even too much, the way that you exploit that and adjust to that is to have him defending a lot being a mistake. And the way that you make him defending a lot being a mistake is by going in with a tighter range, so that when he plays back with a lot of hands against your strong range, he's just going to run into hands too often. He's going to have to try to make you fold. At times when you do have a hand, he's going to have to make you he's going to flop worse top pairs or worse pairs in general against you, worse draws. So that's the general approach to, exploiting a guy who is defending a lot, who is 3-betting a lot, and who is calling a lot and playing back. Like this guy, I'm still going to be raising very strong hands like 10-7 suited. I still think I can play that profitably against him. Jack 9 off is a raise on the button. Against this guy in the small blind, he looks like a fish. This doggy guy, he's just playing 23-0 over 20 hands, which is very unusual. Not his VPIP, his 23th stat, but more like his PFR, his preflop raise stat. The fact that he hasn't really raised a single hand yet. That's kind of weird. Now this guy on table, it is a very large 3-bet. Now I kind of want to 4-bet him this situation, but I had the time bank now, which isn't really too great. Just because he has a very large 3-bet percentage, it's all the way at 20%. It's a very small sample though, so yeah, it's 1 in 5, so you can't really use it too much. But basically, when you're against players who have a tendency to 3-bet too much, you want to 4-bet bluff them once in a while, and using suited aces for 4-bet bluffing is great, just because the fact that you have an ace decreases the likelihood that your opponent has an ace in his hand, so it's less likely that he has ace king or ace queen or aces. So that means that our bluff has a larger percentage, larger success percentage, just because his range of hands that can play back against our bluff is going to be more narrow. Wow, he is definitely 3-betting a lot. I just think, the back-to-back 3-betting is, in my experience, more likely to be a strong hand than if it that gone some time. Exactly the hand after you've been 3-bet is, in my personal experience, often a very strong hand. And on table 3 we got 3-bet by this guy, small blind against big blind, and he has a 3-bet of 10%, and more importantly, his 3-bet stat from the big blind is like a 31. So his overall 3-bet is definitely okay. Like you can definitely play with a 10ish% 3-bet and be in line in a lot of spots. But when his entire 3-betting comes from one position, which is something that you can check out in Poker Tracker 4 and something that I've set up for my HUD, then you know that there's something's up. So you can make adjustments to your play, like like 4-betting 9s in that situation and fighting back against him, trying to steal against me too much. And table 2, great option for squeeze. We have ace king first of all. Second of all, there's a fish calling in a small blind, so most of the time what will end up happening is the under the gun player will end up folding, and the fish will call, so we'll play a heads up pot with a very strong hand against a weak player, which is an ideal situation for us. I like to c-bet this flop just because we do have the ace of hearts, which means that and on all ace turns we can bet again, and obviously we can also hit an ace or king, so that's great as well. And when I do hit a king on the turn, it's easy just to continue betting. On table 3, we call pre-flop just because we won the button with a suited connector. We are faced with a situation to get in on a multi-way pot, and calling with suited connectors in this situation is going to be very profitable. We hit the bottom pair with a backdoor flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, so we call the flop, call the turn. I don't really see any reason to raise against a player like this. I have no idea what he's underbetting the river with. Like, I'm pretty sure it isn't a draw at this point, although I don't really know. I think it's most likely a 7 or 10, but he could also be underbetting he could also be underbetting, you know, a hand like a flush. I just don't know what an underbet means from this kind of guy. So on the river I'm just going to make the fold. I think our equity on the flop, combined with the fact that he might give up on the turn or the river, is going to be enough to warrant the flop call. We could also raise, but just because he has a small stack. The thing with people who tend to have smaller stacks is that they are more willing to get all in with weaker hands. So I didn't think he would be too likely to fold in that spot. So I decided to just call and check out if he would give up on the turn. But then we did hit both our backdoor flush draw and our backdoor straight draw, so we now have both an open ender and a flush draw. So at this point we're not going anywhere. It's just a matter if we should raise or if we should call. And again, same thing. Don't really expect him to fold a lot. Don't know his range for betting again, so I decided to just go with call because we have position. And king queen suited against a guy who's 3-betting 15%, and mostly from the small blind, is definitely going to be a call. Now when just because that's such a high number, and king queen suited is such a good hand, like when you're against a guy who's 3-betting as wide as him, you can definitely get away with calling way more, just because he's not very likely to be holding ace, king or aces. He's way more likely to have a weaker king than you, a weaker queen than you, and the fact that you are connected and you're suited makes you able to hit a lot of flops. So you can call a lot of flop c-bets, you can call even some turn bets, you can hit some pairs that can dominate him. It's just a great hand to defend against a guy who's out of line. And when he checks that flop, I just expect him to be check folding a lot, so I prefer to just pick it up on the flop. And he folded, so that's fine. Aces on table 1, raised the pre-flop against this guy in the big blind. Seems like a fish. He's only sitting with half a stack, so that's usually what I assume. And this is his first hand. His first hand at the table. Whenever you're against a guy who's in his first hand makes very aggressive plays, like 3-betting, check raising, doing weird stuff, you can pretty safely assume that that he's up to something. Like a lot of players, when they first sit down, they just want to get in the action. They've been wanting to play, especially if they're fish, they've probably been wanting to play all day. so they're excited to get started when they sit down and they just want to win some pots and bluff some people. So you shouldn't really give credit to players who you know it's their first hand and who are acting crazy. You should tend more to give credit to regulars, but even then, especially if it's a 3-bet from a guy who just sat down, who you know is a regular, and who usually has a tendency to be, not extremely nittish, then I would be more likely to assume that he was up to no good than if he'd been playing at the table for a while. I'm just gonna check out what he had just to see. This guy did have the flush, wow, so we did actually suck out on the turn. Anyway, the advice still holds true. So definitely pay attention to that when you're playing. And I've been going for half an hour now. I'm gonna wrap this video up right now, I think. I'm just gonna play this ace-9. I'm gonna finish this ace-9. I'm gonna check this turn. You can see it is an overcard, but the fact that it's blind versus blind makes him less likely to give me any credit in this spot. And if I do continue with just the ace overcard in this situation, I'm just going to have a turn betting range that's way too wide, and without knowing anything about how he plays and how he reacts to turn bets, I think betting this turn is going to give me too wide of a turn betting range. So just check folding is going to be fine. So that's it, guys. The second video of the bankroll building experiment at no limit 50. It went pretty well, I think, and I hope you enjoyed the commentary. If you did, please leave a like down below, as that directly lets me know that you enjoyed it. And if you have a friend who might be interested in checking out these videos, please tell them. And please go check out becomeanonlinepokerpro.com, which is my website where I also update with all the results from the Bankroll challenge. I update it more regularly than I update YouTube, so do check that out. And yeah, that's it, guys. Have a great day. See you guys soon. Bye.